in as a Fox News contributor and former chief presidential speechwriter to President George W. Bush. All right, Mark, I want to start by asking you, because maybe I missed it, which candidate has proposed using National Guardsmen to go in and drag people out of their houses and put them in, quote, boxcars to get them out of the country?
Not a single one. And, you know, yesterday Hillary Clinton compared Republicans to terrorists. Today she's comparing them to Nazis. Republicans want to take immigrants and put them in boxcars. I mean, one, that reeks of desperation. Two, it reeks of hypocrisy. Let's not forget that it was her husband, Bill Clinton, who sent federal agents armed with submachine guns to bust down the door of an immigrant's home and drag a screaming child, Elian Gonzalez, out of his home and throw him over the Berlin Wall back into Cuba. So if Mrs. Clinton is worried about jackbooted thugs in America knocking on doors in the night and dragging immigrants out of the country, she ought to talk to her husband.
How worried do you think she should be about some of this terminology she's using? Because, you know, the boxcar analogy immediately, I think most people out there are going to think the Holocaust. That is the last image that anybody wants to be used. And you know, frankly, across the spectrum, when people make those kinds of references or reference Nazis or Hitler, I mean, they are roundly denounced, usually when they do it.
Well, she's done it 2 days in a row now. Yesterday it was Al-Qaeda. People who are pro-life have the same ideology as Osama bin Laden. Today, people who are concerned about the question of illegal immigration, who are concerned about Kate Steinle being shot in San Francisco by an illegal immigrant who should have been deported, those people are Nazis. I mean, this is rhetoric that is unfit for a presidential campaign, and quite frankly, it's desperation. She is so desperate to stop talking, to change the subject from her emails and the fact that she might be indicted, that she is using the most heinous language you could possibly have in a presidential campaign. It's appalling. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about one of the underlying issues here, which is this idea of mass deportations. You know, people have criticized this idea, although Trump, in laying out his specific immigration policy, just a few pages long, there was no actual wording calling for mass deportation, but it's an idea that he's discussed in context, at least, in a number of interviews, talking about they all have to go, your head's going to spin so fast, these people are going to be gone, and then we're going to let the good ones, quote, good ones, back in. You say that this is really not that far out. If you're looking at ideas that have been proposed and actually gotten some bipartisan approval in the past, depending on if that's really what Trump means. Yeah, and people are very focused on his rhetoric, which is heated, saying everybody's got to go and all the rest of it. But what he's actually proposed, when you talk about it, is exactly what you said, is to make people leave the country, and then the good ones, meaning people without criminal records, can be expedited back in the country so they can stay here permanently and work and not have to leave. That is a proposal that has actually been endorsed by the New York Times, the editorial page of the New York Times, voted on by the United States Senate, nearly passed, and 5 Democrats voted in favor of it. It's called Touchback. Back in 2007, Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison offered a bill that would have allowed people, it would have said every illegal immigrant, if they want to stay here, has to go back to their home country, apply for a Z visa, and then come back in here. It was defeated in the Senate 53 to 45, which is a very close vote. 5 Democrats voted for that. Mrs. Clinton, are those Democrats Nazis? Because that's what you're saying about them.
All right, quickly, a couple of other top-tier contenders who've talked about this. Dr. Ben Carson, he says some segments of the economy would virtually collapse if you did get tens of millions of people who are here illegally to leave the country. And he says they're just here seeking a better life. Jeb Bush has talked about what he believes to be Trump's proposal, what we believe. He says it's not realistic. It would cost hundreds of millions of dollars and violate civil liberties while also creating friction with Mexico, which is our 3rd largest trading partner. Fair criticisms?
No, I don't think they are. I mean, look, Trump his rhetoric is much more heated than what he's actually proposing. I mean, he keeps saying, I've got a big heart. And what he's talking about really is touchback amnesty. It's a form of amnesty, except you have to go out of the country in order to get it. In fact, his proposal, with this touchback proposal, was actually it was endorsed by the New York Times. They said, quote, it's not ideal, but if a touchback provision is manageable and reassures people that illegal immigrants are indeed going to go back to the line, it's defensible. The New York Times endorsed it. National Review attacked it. They said it was a fraud that would allow illegal immigrants to cut the line and have backdoor amnesty. So this is a proposal that was endorsed by the New York Times and attacked by National Review. It's not that radical.
The New York Times and Donald Trump on the same page about immigration? We'll have to dig into that a little bit more. Mark Thiessen, always
exactly
good to
the
see
truth.
you. Thank you so much.